Okay, moving right along. This is kind of going to be a bit of a, I don't know if controversial, but this is going to be a bit of a take. So this is what, the fourth team we're doing? And we will move right along to Stefan. So, where do we go with Stefan? So, 33, player 33, we spent $33. Mike Evans. Mike Evans is going into year 9. He's super duper reliable. I think he's missed, like 7 games in his career. He's never been lower than like 25th as a fantasy receiver. He's probably a top 10 receiver. I mean, with Tom Brady under the helm, they're just throwing the ball like mad. So, he's going to be really, really good with touchdowns. He usually is. But I know Brady also likes to spread the ball around. Anyway, he's like a borderline top 10 receiver. Getting him for $33 just shows that people were kind of like overlooking him. Like, freaking $33 is nuts when, gosh, Justin Jefferson went for 69, more than double. Like, yeah, Justin Jefferson's really, really good. Justin Jefferson is not double good of Mike Evans. So getting him as a solid number 1 receiver, that's a good start. I could see 1,100 yards. He's usually very good for touchdowns, so maybe 10 touchdowns. So not as good as last year, but still, like top 10 receiver, back end top 10 receiver. $33 steal. 42nd pick, David Montgomery, $32. So this is going to be kind of an elongated one. So, where to begin? We're going to year 4 with David Montgomery. The Bears have not signed him to an extension. I liked him as a rookie. They have a new coach who is the Colts defensive coordinator, and they brought in the Packers tight end coach to be the offensive coordinator. Since his underwhelming rookie year, Montgomery's gotten a lot of volume. And he's always been pretty busy near the goal line, so he's, I think he's at least top 5 in carries since he's entered the league within 5 yards of the goal line. So he's been a top 15 running back the last couple of years. The only worry I have, and this is why we've probably been having trade discussions, with the Packers tight end coach, now the offensive coordinator, I know for a fact the Bears want more Aaron Jones, like running. One cut up the middle, very slasher-esque. I mean, I guess you could say A.J. Dillon is like a big bruising back, kind of like Montgomery, but the running styles are totally different. Montgomery is a patient back. They don't want patient. And for the 4 games that he missed last year, Khalil Herbert was not very good. He was excellent. Khalil Herbert might be the more talented back in Chicago. And it wouldn't surprise me if he stole the job, to be completely honest. And yeah, I do have Khalil Herbert, so if you're saying it's like, oh, well, Dylan's just saying that because he is trying to trade him, like, you can believe that, but it's true. Khalil Herbert was really good last year for those 4 weeks. And when I watched him, I was like, wow, he has just as much shiftiness as Montgomery, and frankly, he has more speed. So I really don't know how the backfield's going to break, but either way, the Chicago offensive line's terrible. I think it's the worst O-line in football. Even the Texans at least got one very good starter in Tunsil at left tackle. Everyone on Chicago's bad. Like, they just picked up Alex Leatherwood from the Raiders, who cut him after a year, and they picked him up, and they're basically, they took on his contract, which is guaranteed because it's a first-round pick, because they're terrible on the offensive line. Terrible. So, I don't think Montgomery's breaking 1,000 yards. I think he'll get his 7 touchdowns. I think maybe he gets his 40 receptions. But I'd be on the lookout for Khalil Herbert stealing that job. So I am not terribly comfortable with David Montgomery. He was on my do not draft list. So I don't know. I guess $32 for running back isn't bad per se, all things considered. I mean, Josh Jacobs went for 26. So we're kind of paying for players that are kind of like low end, not that great. Ezekiel Elliott went for 33, so I get it. That's why you're getting him at that price, but you paid sticker value for him. So I don't know, man. So then we have Elijah Mitchell at 44. Your waiver wire find last year for like $70, if I remember correctly. Going into last year, everybody thought, oh, Trey Sermon's the guy. And lo and behold, who took the number 2 job as the backup? And then Raheem Mostert gets hurt and he's the starter? Elijah Mitchell. So he carried the ball at least 17 times in 11 games. He was a top 20 back most of the time. I want to say at least half of those games he was top 20 back. Half the games he played. He did get a whole lot of goal line work, if I remember correctly. I think he only got like 6 touchdowns, which isn't much for a starting number 1 running back. And he also didn't even break 20 catches, which tells me they also don't pass him the ball either. I don't know how much the offense will change with Trey Lance, but again, this is another guy I'm kind of betting against. I'm hedging my bets against you because as much as you might like Elijah Mitchell, and I do like the price of $28 for Elijah Mitchell, if I'm being totally honest. I think he's quite talented. San Francisco's weird. I could see Trey Lance, now as the quarterback, being the number 1 running back on that team. I don't think Jeff Wilson will steal the job, even though I have him. But funny enough, I do think I think it might even be the 3rd string running back now. I don't know. I need to see what they do with their depth chart. But anyway, the point is that rookie out of Georgia Tech, who I have on my team, Jordan Mason, I could see him. He looked fantastic. And I haven't seen Elijah Mitchell. He's coming off a hamstring injury. I haven't seen him at all in the preseason. I haven't even seen him in training camp. I mean, I know he's back. He'll probably be ready for week 1. But that's really a worry with the San Francisco backs. They always get hurt. Like, always. No matter what you do. So, last year we cycled through JaMychal Hasty and Elijah Mitchell and Raheem Mostert and Trey Sermon. So many backs. And now, Hasty's gone, Sermon's gone, Mostert's gone. They brought in Tyrion Davis-Price, who's on Brian's team. I have Jordan Mason and Jeff Wilson Jr. I wouldn't feel terribly comfortable with Elijah Mitchell starting the whole season for one reason or another. I don't know about his health. But for $28 in the talent, he's a good value, especially because that is such a run-heavy offense. I just don't know what to make of San Francisco right now, especially with a new quarterback. Because Trey Lance is definitely stealing some of those rushes, guys. It's happening. No one's going to tell me differently. Sorry. So, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't run. Trey Lance does. Then we went to Marquis Brown for $28. So we went $33 Mike Evans, $32 David Montgomery, $28 Elijah Mitchell, $28 Marquis Brown. So we've spent half our budget. So Sarah spent half her budget on 2 players. We spent $101 on 4 players. So we kind of split the difference. This is kind of risky. Because, again, it's kind of this one, Marquis Brown is in Arizona now, so he got traded away from Baltimore. I had him last year. I got him for, dirt cheap. I think he'll be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's taking the Christian Kirk role, but Hopkins is gone for 6 weeks. He's obviously a vertical threat. And he played in college with Kyler Murray, so they do have rapport. When he played with Lamar Jackson last year, Marquis Brown was excellent. But when Jackson was not there, he was not very good at all. So I think he's probably a wide receiver 3. You're playing him as a wide receiver 2. I don't think he'll get as many receptions, but I think he'll get more big plays. So maybe 1,050 yards, maybe the same amount of touchdowns, 6. So that makes him a wide receiver 3. But you're paying for it at cost of 28. I think you overpaid. I think, last year I had him, so he was 20th best at receiver, and I think he'll be around that same range. I don't feel great about that at, paying 28. I think you paid on the higher end for a receiver. I think he's in a better offense for him. There's the possibility he breaks out, especially considering the fact that he's with his old college quarterback. But wait, were you the, okay, no, you didn't. Okay, I was just going to say, did you take Kyler Murray? Were you another one of those stack people? Like freaking Sarah with Derek Carr and Devontae Adams, or like Brian with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. But no, you didn't take Kyler Murray again this year. You took Justin Herbert next. So, anyway. No, I mean, I like Marquis Brown. I just think he paid too much. This is a weird top four. Evans, Montgomery, Elijah Mitchell, Marquis Brown. They aren't exactly, like, I think in a vacuum, it's a good deal on Evans and a good deal on Mitchell. Not a great deal on Montgomery and an overpay on Brown. So all four of them for like $100 though. I mean, that checks out. That's about right, I suppose. So you're deeper than Sarah, but I'm not in love with the core. But, you know, we're getting there. So 53 overall. Justin Herbert, $12. Now, Josh Allen went for 15. Tom Brady went for 15. Jalen Hurts only went for 6. I would take Jalen Hurts over Justin Herbert. But in the vacuum of quarterback, is $12 all that much really for a quarterback? No. So could Justin Herbert be the MVP? I could see it. He had 5,000 yards passing last year, and he had 38 touchdowns. Neither of which Derek Carr has ever done, but Derek Carr only costs $1. So, do I think he'll have another incredible season? Yeah, I could even see him possibly being, like, the MVP. He's never finished lower than third in pass attempts, completions, yards, touchdowns, or obviously fantasy points. So, he is a top 3 quarterback no matter what. And they love to pass. So, Buffalo loves to pass. LA Chargers love to pass. I think he's missing, he doesn't run as much, obviously, as Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but he passes just as much as Patrick Mahomes. So I could see another 300 yards rushing, another 3 touchdowns, probably another 38, maybe even 40 touchdowns passing. I don't know if we'll get the 5,000 yards again. I think the defense will be better. But maybe 4,500 yards. The point is, he's a top 3 quarterback. I don't mind the $12. I think that's like right around. He's probably, honestly, everyone in quarterback in this freaking league is like underpaid. Like y'all need to spend more than this. Like this is wild. I don't understand. But $12, Justin Herbert, good deal. He might be the MVP. I could see it. He might take the next step. Just like Jalen Hurts, and really $6 between the difference between the two isn't much. Would I like Jalen Hurts at 6? Yeah, but you know Herbert at 12 is not bad. And then okay, so we did do a weird stack. I knew there was something about this team where I'm like, that's weird. I don't like that. This is what was weird. So we did a double stack, and we did a double stack of the Chicago offense. We did a double stack of the Chicago offense by getting the Chicago number 1 running back and the Chicago number 1 wide receiver, because you got Darnell Mooney for $9. I know quite a few people, Matthew Berry is the big one, are high on Darnell Mooney. I am not. So, I mean, he had 27% target share last year. Cool. He had good rapport with Justin Fields. Cool. He was top 20 in snaps, routes, targets, receptions, yards. Cool. He was like the 23rd receiver in fantasy. So for $9, that's a good deal. And obviously, you know, if that's what he was last year, he's got to be just as good this year. I could see that. You can talk me to that. 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. I could see it. So for $9, I mean, yeah, that's a good deal. But do I love stacking the number 1 running back on Chicago and the number 1 wide receiver on Chicago? No, I do not. Because if Chicago has a bad day, I'm probably losing too. And Chicago's offense is bad because the O-line is bad. I like Justin Fields. I think he's really, really talented. He's on Ryan's team. if there was a vacuum and other than like Trevor Lawrence, if we were just taking all the second, third year quarterbacks, so I guess, like if we're really talking like, so like Tua, Justin Herbert, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, who else? Trevor Lawrence, I guess we can throw Daniel Jones in there if we really want to. Who else are we throwing in? Anyway, we took all the young quarterbacks, really, really young guys, not like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, but the really, really young ones, like 3 years and younger. I would say, other than Lawrence, because I think Lawrence is the best draft prospect since Andrew Luck, I would say Justin Fields is the next most talented quarterback. He is super duper talented, but holy crap, his situation is bad. Cool, they brought in a new head coach who's a defensive coordinator. Cool, they brought in a Packers tight end coach to be the offensive coordinator. Awesome stuff, great. Still hate the offensive line, which is terrible. Just awful. So, is Mooney a steal at the amount of money you paid? Yes. But would I have stacked him with David Montgomery even at that deal? No. There were a lot of good deals at wide receiver, especially later on. And Mooney is basically like, a good wide receiver 3. So we have Marquis Brown, who I kind of see as a wide receiver 3, and we got Mike Evans. So now we got Mooney. So I guess those are your 3 starters. But again, it's hard to double stack, especially double stack on a bad team. Like I was double stacking, Mark Andrews and Marquis Brown last year, and it was hard for me. And they were really good until Lamar Jackson got hurt. So I don't love that. Like, I don't see Chicago averaging even 21 points. So, like, if Montgomery gets, like, a touchdown, I don't think Mooney's getting a touchdown. Like, I don't love that at all. I dislike that a lot. It's one thing to double stack a good offense, but this is a bad offense. So, it's a good deal, but that is definitely something you ought to consider getting out from under. 98th pick, Damien Hare, $7. I guess we're getting started to the weird place in your team. So, personally, I think Ramondre Stevenson's more talented than Damian Harris. Ramondre Stevenson can catch the ball. Damian Harris doesn't catch the ball, but that's probably why you also got him at a deal for $7. Damian Harris had 15 touchdowns last year. He was a top 15 fantasy player at running back last year. But he doesn't catch the ball that much. I don't think he's ever broken 20 receptions. He got like 18. So I don't think he's going to get as much work this year, even though James White's gone and they cut J.J. Taylor. I think Ramondre Stevenson's the better running back. And Ramondre Stevenson's definitely catching the ball more. So I think Harris is in for touchdown regression, but he's still a starter in our league. He's like a running back 3 flex guy. So I could see like 850, 900 yards rushing, maybe 100 yards receiving again, but like 10 touchdowns instead of 15. 15 touchdowns is a lot. So some regression, but definitely a starting running back. He's not going to be a top 15 running back. I guess he was like the 13th best running back in fantasy last year. I see him more as like the 21st best running back in fantasy, which is still a starter in our league. And for the price of $7, like you can't beat that. That's great. Pick 109, $9, Rashad Penny. So I kind of went on a rant and stares about Kenneth Walker. Just like I'm not really a fan of David Montgomery because I think Khalil Herbert's better. I'm not a fan of Damian Harris because I think Ramondre Stevenson's better. I'm not a fan of Rashad Penny because I think Kenneth Walker's better. They just used a second-round pick on Kenneth Walker. They don't need Kenneth Walker. Was Rashad Penny terrific in the last 5 weeks of last year? He was a top 10 fantasy back. That is true. It's also true that Rashad Penny has never gotten over 160 carries since his junior year of high school, and I know that. You can check it. That's a fact. He is always hurt. He was hurt his freshman year of college. He was hurt his sophomore year of college. He was hurt his junior year of college. He was hurt his senior year of college. He was hurt his first 4 years at Seattle. He was hurt last year. That's why he came in injured towards the last 5 games, even though Chris Carson had been missing for most of the season. So, is he talented when he's healthy? I suppose, yeah, he is pretty talented. I can see why they drafted him in the first round 5 years ago, because he averages 5.6 yards per carry. But he's missed 37 games in 65 possible games. So he's missed over half the games he was supposed to play. He doesn't catch the ball that much. I think he got like 6 receptions last year. And Seattle doesn't have Russell Wilson anymore. It's on the range of outcomes. Rashad Penny is not a running back I want. Is he a starter in our league? Yeah, he is a starter in our league because he's a running back and he's healthy. Is he going to survive the whole season? Hell no. I don't believe that at all. So is he going to be able to hold off Kenneth Walker? I don't believe that either. Do I believe in Pete Carroll, though? No. So a wide range of outcomes, but the high-end outcomes are not very high. They're lower than I'd like them to be, but that's also why you got him at a good price. So, does he have value to trade? Yeah. Should you start him as long as he's a starter? Probably. I don't know. I need to see how it breaks out with how much work Kenneth Walker's getting. Penny's a good player, though. So, we'll say like 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, and maybe he actually gets some passing, so 150 yards rushing. But again, I think Kenneth Walker's going to steal this job at some point this season. He's just better. And frankly, I'm very, very skeptical that Penny stays healthy. And then pick 1012, we take Chase Edmonds, $23. Okay. So this is kind of like where we're doing, and this is where we're going to go into like the strategy of drafting. So Robbie will tell you, and I'm doing Robbie's video next for this specific reason. Robbie will tell you that you have to, you got to hammer at running back. You got to get that running back. You got to hammer at it. And Robbie does have a championship. Credit to him. And Robbie believes in running back, and that's definitely a viable strategy. I think in auction, though, it's also important to be aware of what's going on around you and being aware of like how your team's constructed. So, I mean, up to this point, we've spent $100 on Dave Montgomery, Elijah Mitchell, Mike Evans, Marquis Brown. We have Darnell Mooney to double stack David Montgomery. We have Rashad Penny. We have Damian Harris. And then we spent $23 on Chase Edmonds. Like, yeah, okay, we have good running backs. Yes, that's true. $23 on Chase Edmonds seems kind of like a lot. I'm not really sure why you were in the bidding war for Chase Edmonds. Maybe you believe in his talent. Maybe there's something that I don't see. But he was on the low end of a timeshare with James Conner last year, and now he's in another timeshare with Raheem Mostert, who was had for $3. You spent $23 on Chase Edmonds, and I don't think a single player after him went for anywhere near that amount. I think he was the highest paid. Yeah, he was the only guy in the hundreds, if I remember correctly. I'm going to look through this. Yeah, he's the only guy in the hundreds. We'll go to Robbie. He's the only guy in the hundreds who went for over $20. The only one. So, oh, well, okay, AJ Dillon went at 105 for 25, so he was the second one. But still, AJ Dillon is really good. AJ Dillon's on a team that doesn't have any wide receivers. What is Miami? Do you know anything about the situation? Do you know what their offense wants to look like? Do you know what Mike McDaniels wants to run? Do you know how they're going to use Tyreek Hill? Do you know like what Raheem Mostert is? I don't think you can answer any of those questions. I don't think you know the answer to any of those questions. And this goes back to strategy. So what I'm saying is this. I would have considered using some of the money that you used on Chase Edmonds up front for maybe possibly a better player. Or I would use it to spread. Yeah, no, I'm not even going to say the other stuff. I would have used it to get a better player, and I would have probably used the money to just get a cheap back-end player. I mean, hell, Dameon Pierce went for 19. I think Dameon Pierce has a better timeshare than Chase Edmonds. I don't know why you're bidding on Chase Edmonds. It seems as though last year you were just like, I told you, it's like, you need an RB2, Stefan. And this year you went the complete opposite way, and you were just like, I got to get all the RBs. So you were kind of like a mini Robbie, which is why I'm doing Robbie's video next. But it's funny in that sense because you're both just like, your wide receivers are better than Robbie's, and Robbie's receivers are like, there's a wide range of outcomes, and they're super duper cheap, and that's kind of what he does. And it works for him. Will it work for you? I don't know. I think you're still trying to figure out your draft strategy, but this was very remiss. That was definitely, I remember being in the draft and being like, that is off. There's no way Chase Edmonds is worth that. Even if he's a running back, even if he's a running back with a pulse, and even if you really like him, there's no way you will convince me he's worth $23. Kenneth Walker is better than him. He went for $12. Like, Dameon Pierce is better than him, has no competition, and he's in a worse offense, but he went for 19. Like, you could have used that money on something else. I don't know what you were saving it for. Maybe you want the back-end stuff. But Chase Edmonds for 23 is not great use of funds. I don't know why we did that. It wasn't even necessary because you didn't need a running back that bad. So, do I like Edmonds? I mean, he's all right. He's a good scat back passing down guy. I think he's probably in the right offense because Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator in San Francisco, so he's coming over to Miami. He's using Tua. They built out the O-line. They traded for Tyreek Hill. But I guess we're hoping Chase Edmonds is the Elijah Mitchell? I guess that's what we're hoping for. But Elijah Mitchell was the backup to Raheem Mostert, and now Raheem Mostert's in Miami. So yeah, Raheem Mostert gets hurt all the time, but it's not like Edmonds is always healthy either. So there's a lot of stuff with this. I mean, he's a good pass catcher, so he'll probably get like 50 receptions. But I don't know if he's going to get like over 200 carries. I think it's going to be pretty much 50-50 with Mostert. So Mostert was 3. Edmonds was 23. That's a lot. I like Edmonds. I've never seen him have a top 25 running back season ever. And we're paying him to essentially have a top 25 running back season. I don't love Damian Harris and Rashad Penny. Combined, they cost $16. You spent $23 on Chase Edmonds. And I don't know if he's better than either. At least not now. So, yeah, this is a very remiss pick. I think if Josh Jacobs with Mac was an overpay, this is just totally out of whack. This was the one running back pick where I'm just like, that don't make no sense. I guess you're just kind of like hammering away running back, but I don't see how Edmonds can be as good as I'm not even sure he's a starter on your team. And even if you were trading him, we had trade discussions. Even if you were trading him, I would just be like, I guess he's a starter, but I don't think he's a top 25 running back. I'm not going to pay that price. Like, there's no way I can see that. Like, he's splitting the work. There are talented other receivers or running backs. Like Myles Gaston's good. They want to be a passing offense. Mike McDaniels has talked about like how much he likes Mostert learning the offense there. Like they're trying to develop Tua and play action. Like everything about Miami points to Chase Edmonds being a good player, but I don't know. I don't know why we did this. I don't know. I don't understand. So then $149, $7 to James Robinson. So again, we went from not having an RB2 last year to being a mini Robbie and just flowing everything into running back. Just throwing the kitchen sink. Robinson was great the first 2 years, but he's coming off an Achilles injury, which has basically killed Marlon Mack's career. I'm not sure what it'll do to Cam Akers, but his Achilles tear was late in the season. I'm surprised they haven't put him on the PUP list. And the second thing he's riding up against is Travis Etienne is now back. He was the first-round pick last year. He missed the whole season. So, how much is Robinson going to contribute? He's also another timeshare guy. You got him for $7, so kind of like Rashad Penny was a good deal for $9, or Damien Harris was a good deal for $7. Yeah, James Robinson is a good deal for $7. But at this point, I'm kind of like, why don't you just save the money and get one of the handcuffs? Robinson doesn't really do anything for you. I mean, I guess if Etienne gets hurt and Robinson's healthy, he'll get some touches, but that's a passing offense with Trevor Lawrence now. He's not going to get 1,000 yards, especially if he's sharing the ball with Etienne. Maybe he'll get like 700, maybe like 6 touchdowns, maybe like a couple hundred yards receiving, which is, in our league, I mean, technically that's like a top 30 running back. And he's definitely like a starter, especially on some teams without like running backs. Like, yeah, he could start for Eileen like today. But I don't know. At this point in the draft, you don't really need to get another quasi-starting running back. I mean, I guess he's trade bait if someone's really desperate for a running back, but I don't know. I think the biggest problem, the issue I have with this is just like, I think it's important if you're going to go like full-on running back like Robbie, I think it's important to have targets. I think it's important to just be like, these are the players that I want. Like Robbie, I think specifically wanted Dameon Pierce. I don't know that. I'd have to ask him, but I think he specifically wanted him. I think he also like specifically wanted Ramondre Stevenson, who went for 15, which is more than double of Damien Harris, but I think he's better. I think Robbie specifically wanted Dalvin Cook, and he went for 71. So he was saving the money because he wanted those players. Travis Etienne went for $29. That's a lot, but I think he specifically wanted him. I don't think you specifically wanted any of these guys except for maybe Mitchell, possibly Montgomery, but I think you were just like, oh, this is a steal of a deal because he's a running back. This is a steal of a deal because he's a running back, which it's true. They are a deal, and what you're paying for them is pretty good, other than Edmonds, which we talked about, but it's weird. It's just very... I would have preferred to get more elite talent. This team is more solid than it is elite. So, I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff towards the end. Like, we got, the rookie Sky Moore, who we hope is the... we hope he's the slot guy for the Chiefs, but he was, their third-round pick out of Western Michigan. There's a lot of... I don't know what to make of the Chiefs. There's a lot of players on the Chiefs I don't like at receiver, so Moore's got just as much a shot to be this guy as any of them, I suppose. But as a rookie, rookies don't usually do very well in Andy Reid offenses, so maybe 50 receptions, 600 yards. Be willing to cut him in 3 or 4 weeks when he doesn't show anything. Nico Collins, so maybe breakout second-year receiver for the Texans, but I don't know if the Texans are going to pass that much. He's 6'4", 222, and they need a second receiver, and they'll be passing a lot because they'll be down a lot because the defense is no good. But he's a lottery pick, maybe 750 yards receiving, maybe 4 touchdowns. So he's like a wide receiver 5, borderline wide receiver 5 you could use as a flex sometimes. Isaiah McKenzie, he's going to be the slot guy. I think he'll be usable, kind of like I talked about Dawson Knox. He's usable as the slot guy in Buffalo. I don't really know between the two of them who's the starter. I'd prefer just getting a rookie and hoping to see if they have any upside or using that basically space for switching out, trying to find upside, because I don't think McKenzie's not going to replace Gabriel Davis or Stephon Diggs if they ever got hurt. They would figure it out before they would trust McKenzie to take that job. And I'd much rather just cut him and get some upside. So, what am I saying? So, I guess your draft... If Andre's draft befuddles me because it's terribly different than what he usually does, your draft confuses me mostly because, you just kind of went with very, you were just, keep going back to the cookie jar of running back, even when you're spending a lot at running back when you don't need to. And you also double-tapped a team that I don't really like. So, I can't hate your draft. You're one of the deepest teams at running back. You definitely will be able to trade those running backs at some point. Well, I say that, but I'm going to be honest. Rashad Penny's going to get hurt. You ought to just dump him for something good now. If you don't believe me, that's fine, but 160 carries. I have 8 years of evidence saying he will not reach 160 carries. So, believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. 9 years if you count his senior year of high school too. So yeah, 9 years of evidence, almost a decade of evidence that says he will not reach 160 carries. So doubt me if you want, but I'm going to stick to that because ain't no way. I don't believe in Rashad Penny staying healthy. I am sorry. But the point is, I think you have a lot of players that people aren't high on. You don't have a lot of upside. Like, Herbert has upside to be the MVP. But Brown I only see as being as good as he could be last year because at some point, DeAndre Hopkins is coming back. Same thing with like Mitchell. Mitchell was very good last year when he played, but he also gets off injured a lot. Montgomery's in a bad offense. Mike Evans is the number one on Tampa, but I mean, Tom Brady led the league in pass attempts last year. I don't know if he's going to do that again. Rashad Penny has to hold off Kenneth Walker. There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs with almost everybody up and down your team. You're deeper than most, so that is a credit to you, but it's a very solid team. So I can't say your starters are exciting as some of the other high-end teams, but I also will say you are deeper than some of the higher-end teams, which helps you. I think I'm going to give you the same grade I gave Mac, which is a B-. I like the team, but I wouldn't build it out the way you built it out. There's too many players where I'm just like, I just simply did not want. And even if you say that's biased, there's things about it where I'm just like very hesitant. Where I would just be like, you could have allocated those funds differently. I don't think you are not the team waiting on the back end that should be spending the $23 on Chase Edmonds. That should be someone desperate who needs a running back on the back end to spend that money on a running back. You weren't desperate. You already had 4 running backs, and you got a pretty good deal on Robinson. If Robinson was your wide running back number 5, that would have been like, I would be like, you still didn't need him, but I would get it. But spending $30 on a running back 5 and a running back 6, I guess as starters when I don't know anything about them is a lot. And yeah, they can be trade bait, but I really would have rather have gotten some elite talent up front. Like, I don't know, we could have put that $23 instead of David Montgomery. We could have grabbed one around for $50. Leonard Fournette, we could have gotten for $50. We spent $32 on David Montgomery and $23 on Chase Edmonds. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but there's no elite talent on this team. It's a lot of good players, but stars win titles. There's no stars. I think you'll figure it out. I think I like this draft better than I did last year, but I think you lean too far to Robbie's, like, you got to get all the running backs, but you didn't really, unlike Robbie, you didn't identify the running backs that you wanted. And I think that's really important. I think you got to like go into it and be like, if I'm going to get all the running backs, there are certain ones I'm going to get, no matter what. You got to pick your guys, and you got to stick to your guns. And I just don't see any star players on your team. And you need that star talent to win. I think it's a solid team. I think you'll make the playoffs, but that's kind of why I'm giving you the same grade as Mac, because there's not a whole lot of upside. There's no elite talent. There's no possibility of like Rashad Penny's going to break out. I mean, I guess if he stayed healthy the whole season and played, he might break out. But again, I got 9 years saying that won't happen, so very skeptical. Anyway, I know this one's really long, but I really wanted to talk about it. I'm going to do Robbie's next, but you were kind of like a mini Robbie, so I thought it was kind of like funny in that sense. So that's why. B-, you're a mid-tier team. So still, I think you did better than last year, though. You need some elite talent.